Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing? How's the show? Everything's great. I only got one guy that's moving. Everybody else is looking at their iPads and iPhones. And he's not even listening. I can't sell him anything. Well, glad you're here. My name is Terrance Davis. I'm an enterprise sales engineer for Logarithm. And what we're going to talk about is advanced threats in lateral movement or lateral detection. So what does that mean? Anybody know? I was hoping you would clue me in. I've got to talk about it. Y'all are just like, whoa, I don't know. All right, so advanced movement and lateral detection. I'm going to change IT threats and detection, and we're going to talk about a little bit of physical security event, just to try to tie it in a little bit, just so you can understand what correlation and SIM technology really does, because that's what Logarithm does. We're a log management and a SIM. And then a few logging challenges. Now, unfortunately, I don't have time to do the demo, and I've got about a 30-minute demo. I could get it down to about 30 minutes, but I only have 25 minutes to speak, and it takes me 20 minutes to set it up. So, unfortunately, it's not going to happen. All right, first and foremost, we want to talk about hacking, right? That's what everybody's here for. Oh, we're here for the food and the beer. Perfect. Okay, well then I'll try to get done because I understand the beer gets tapped at about 11 o'clock. We can get out of here pretty quick. So hacking, cyber hacking, and everything else. In order to understand hacking, right, don't we have to know what the hacker looks like? Don't we have to understand what they look like? Does this look about right? Black t-shirt, and they handed out a bunch of black t-shirts when I came in, so we're ready to go. Black t-shirt, jacket, miscellaneous gadgetry. I saw a bunch of guys walking around with stuff on their belts. High caliber weapon. Did I see any high caliber weapons in here? I saw somebody shooting something. Anyway, that's what a hacker looks like. So now that we know what our target is, the people that we're trying to keep out of our stuff, we know how to track these guys because we know what hackers look like, right? Everybody's like, man, you're an idiot. All right. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. They look like this. Anybody that sits in front of a computer with a ski mask is a hacker. Right? Good enough. All right, so now that we know, really seriously, the fact is you don't know what a hacker looks like, do you ever? They hide behind that anonymity on the internet, and you can't really figure out where they are, what they are, who they are. And that's part of what a SIM technology does for you, because you're not going to know who the hacker is. The only way that you can find out where they're coming from is to follow the trail of data. And so that's part of that SIM technology. So what I really want to talk about, because we're talking about lateral movement, is APTs, advanced persistent threats. Everybody knows what those are, right? Everybody's heard of those. It's been in the news. I mean, you've heard of Target. It was an advanced persistent threat. You've heard of Neiman Marcus. Home Depot now, those are all APTs. They all been hacked by APTs. So really what it is an APT is we call it advanced in the industry, and the reason it's advanced is because they use a lot of different technology in order to hack systems. So when you talk about an advanced persistent threat, not only are they advanced because of all of the different technologies, it could start off with maybe a SQL injection or something like that. But the reality of it is a lot of times it's social engineering. So that's part of that technology that they're going to use. And we're going to talk about phishing here in just a minute. So they're highly organized. They're actually fairly well paid. Unfortunately, they get paid better than I do. And we're the ones that are helping to try to stop them. So you got to kind of watch out for that. They have a lot of time to do this. You know, they're in most cases, and we like to say they're sitting in third world countries. It's Ukraine, Russia, China, those kind of places. They don't make a lot of money in the first place. If they make any at all, they're fairly highly paid for what they do. And because they have the time, they can just keep hacking away, hacking away. They're also, in most cases, now organized. And it could be by state, it could be by nation. But they are organized. And when you think about some of the things that they do from a phishing standpoint, or some of the viruses and Trojans that you've seen on the market lately or in the past, a lot of those were created by governments. And, you know, people get their hands on the government technology and away they go. So if they can purchase the malware, sorry about that, geez. If they can purchase the malware, if they can find it on the Tor nets and stuff like that, and they can gather all this data, credit card data, PII, the stuff that you don't want to lose, that you can't afford to lose, then hey, they're in good shape, because once they have that, they can attack you. Well, they have to start somewhere. What we like to say at Logarithm is it's not when, it's if. Or I'm sorry, it's not if, it's when. Man, it's not if, it's when. The hackers are very mission-oriented. They're very persistent. They're going to try to hack, and they're going to continue to hack, especially with an APT, until they get in. Because the fact is, it doesn't matter if it takes them a long time to get in, because what they're looking for is generally going to pay off in the end, right? If you think about Target and the credit cards, wow, 40 million or plus credit cards, that's a lot of data. Now, if they can only get 1 or 2 of those credit cards to work, that's a problem. But the more they get, the better off they are. And so they can make more money doing it. And they're really focused on the return on investment. When you see things like this, you start to think, man, this is like a business. These guys are in business to make money. We all are. That's what we do for a living. So when you think about hackers, what are they doing? They're in business to make money. So when we think about what we have to do to prevent the hacks, it's all about correlation, right? From a SIM technology, from a log standpoint, and from logging technology, it's all about the correlation of the log events. What we try to do from a SIM technology is we try to gather the data that you already have available to you. It's not anything that we're creating. It's already available. It's just we have to correlate it. We're trying to put it together so that we can make sense of it, get rid of all of that noise, because the noise doesn't help you. And there's a lot of log data out there that can help you. So the fact is, we're trying to get rid of the log data that doesn't make sense to you, and then create events that do, based on the correlation of different disparate systems. So let's talk about the IT security threats. First of all, I mentioned phishing, because that's what we found in the industry. Phishing is the #1 social engineering tactic in order to be able to get into somebody's network, in order to gather data. It's usually via phishing in organized technology. I got guys looking at me going, nope, that's not the way they get in. But it truly is. Phishing technology is almost the #1 way people get into corporate networks and gather data. They start with social engineering. We also understand that malware has cost almost 500 billion in 2014. And that's 500 billion not from the loss of data, but from the cleanup. That's what it takes in order for organizations to clean up after a data breach. So we want to make sure that we help them, right? So when we're looking at phishing attacks, what do they look like? You might recognize some of these, but this is kind of what the phishing attacks start to look like. This is how they're able to get in and why it's so easy. You may get an email from your help desk saying, hey, fill this out for me so that we can come fix your system. It's not coming from your help desk, it's coming from somebody outside. But if you can track that email as it returns back outside, the data, then maybe you can understand this is a problem, we need to get on it. Anybody gotten the UPS email that says, hey, you got a box sitting here, we want to deliver it to you, but you got to fill out this information so that we can come deliver the box to you, or you can come pick it up? Yeah, right. I guarantee you UPS is never going to email you. If they can't find out where the box goes, they'll just drop it somewhere else. That's not how they work. PayPal, always wanting to know, hey, man, we got a problem here. Can you click on this and fill it out and we can figure out what's going on? IRS notices. And these actually work, but IRS notices. Have you ever known the IRS to email you anything? They won't, right? So don't worry about it. They'll never email you anything. Protect your credit card online. Click here, and we'll do it for you. Yeah, I bet you will. Fill out this. We got a problem with your Visa card. Fill it out. Just soliciting information. That's where this kind of stuff comes from. Here's the one I really like. You get a notice from Verizon. Who has Verizon, by the way? You get a notice from Verizon, and it says, hey, we've got a problem with your account. Can you click here? Well, as soon as you click, you've activated either the phishing hack that they're trying to do, or they're at least getting you onto their website so you can fill out some data. But here's the interesting one. When I started looking at it originally, I said, wow, the total balance is $14,000 or $1,400. And then I started thinking about it. Well, I got 3 teenage boys. That's probably about right. That's a monthly bill. Right? So anyway, you've seen all these. Your email's about full. Fill it out. Yes? Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of legitimate ones that come across, not just from Home Depot, but from Visa and MasterCard and American Express. But yeah, I guess I could understand that. Yeah, you're right. They're a little bit less tech savvy, but for the most part, if you're using a credit card, you would hope that somebody is savvy enough to understand that you don't fill anything out on the network, right, on the web. We tell people that all the time, and this is the perfect example of what I'm talking about. I know it's a cartoon, but it really does work. Why? Because the people that most of the phishing attempts are going towards are the people that don't understand the technology, just like you mentioned. They're the people that don't understand the technology. You've got the boss that thinks, hey, he's got something that he's got to do, and he clicks on it, right? So, perfect point. I appreciate that. Just an idea of some of the client-side attacks that we've seen on a daily basis. This is the kind of phishing attempts that we see, and we see it on a very large, all the time. And so what we need to do is when we look at the lateral transfer of data, what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out, well, where's that data coming from? Where is it going to? And how does it correlate to other systems? Because that's what's really most important from SIM technology. The fact that we can correlate different disparate log systems in order to find out and track the data. And what I'm talking about from this is we're looking at phishing attacks. But for example, if you have a host that somebody has reconnaissance on, somebody's looked at for some reason, and then that host later on reports an attack, that is something that you need to be alerted about. If you have an account that was created, right, and then that account gets escalated to privileged user, for instance, domain admins, that in and of itself as an event isn't anything to worry about in most cases, because that happens on a daily basis in corporate America. Somebody comes in, they're new to the job, but they're going to be a domain admin. They get an account created. Their privileged accesses are escalated. But if that same person, that account, in an hour or two starts looking at files of human resources or somebody like that, then you have to be aware of that. That's the part that becomes the alert or the event, right? Because in most cases is when somebody gets an account created at a new company, they're not ready to start looking at files. They're still learning the job. They're still trying to figure out where the bathrooms are and stuff like that. If they're already looking at human resources files, then you need to know about that. And that's where the correlation comes into play. We need to look at the data as it goes across your network, look at the correlation of that data, and find out where somebody got the account, who created the account, first of all. And then we see that it's escalated and now they're looking at files. We need to be able to stop that. In phishing data, it looks the same way, right? When you get an email, you come in, you hit the email. It hits the email server, no big deal. But the Windows workstation that somebody got the email from, they click on the phishing email, and now we can track the data going back and forth. And we start to see what's going on in the network. That's the correlation of logs that gives us the ability to look at phishing attacks and figure out what's going on and stop them from happening. It's not possible to stop the initial attack, but we can stop the process of the beaconing hosts or anything else that happens after the fact, right? So what we see from a log generated, the logs generated during such an attack, right? What we're seeing is we're seeing the exchange data flow. And then shortly thereafter, we're getting to see the reader access, maybe the reader crashing, or we're starting to see from the firewall, we're starting to see some outflowing data. We're starting to see some beaconing of the host, perhaps. And what it starts to look at, what it starts to look like is something's going on in the network. But it's so minute because nobody allows it to happen, right? A hacker is trying to hide himself. So a good hacker tries to keep it so quiet that nobody really sees anything happening on the network. What they're basically doing is they're allowing that access to be maintained by keeping very silent. When you think about it, once somebody gets that back door open, what happens next? Nothing. Once they have the access, they don't do anything. And the reason they don't is they don't want you to know what's going on in their network. They're trying to hide from you. And that's part of that persistence, part of that being able to be very slow and quiet and maintain that access for a period of time so they don't want you to be able to look at that correlation. That's what they do. They don't want you to know, hey, I've got the back door open. It's open now. If I make a lot of noise, you're going to see it, right? You've got the systems in place. You got the IDS, the IPS, the firewall, the content filter, the proxy, and everything else. You got it all in place because if they start making noise, you're going to be able to see it. They can't make the noise. They're not going to want the noise. And nothing's going to happen for a very long time. They're going to stay silent because they have the door open now. They're starting to look for domain controllers. They're doing their searches. They're starting to do it very slow and very low, very quietly. They look for, any kind of vulnerable system that they might be able to hack into, any kind of server that maybe hadn't been patched. They're looking for files, any type of property, intellectual property, maybe human resources property, information about how the company works, who the leaders are. That might be what they're looking for so that they can get more phishing out there. They're going to do some port scans, some ping sweeps, some other stuff like that. They're actually going to start looking at this information, but the one thing that they don't want to do is make a lot of noise. But if you have the right SIM technology in place, you're looking at the right logs, what are you going to see? You're going to start seeing some beacons. You're going to start seeing this data traversing the network. You saw it originally come in from a phishing email. Now you're going to start being able to see it go out. So what Logarithm's going to see from what we do is we're going to see these beacons continually hit the network. Even after the guy goes home, he's no longer logged in. What's happening is his system is beaconing. So we can track that. We can see that there might be something wrong based on the fact that we've already baselined that system previously, so we know what type of data they use. We know what type of work they do. And we know how much data they use over the course of a day and when they shut down their system. So if they're still there, we may send an alert. That's something that you need to know about. So we see this beaconing activity. We can start looking at the SSL. We can start gathering the data. We can log the data. Not only that, we can capture the data. And we start collecting that so that we can find out where it's coming from, who it is. And so we're basically doing analytics on the behavior. So once we know, like I said, how they work, anything that's an anomaly to what they do can be reported in an alert or an alarm. Because you want to know about it. It may not be something bad, but you do want to know about it. You want to be alarmed on that difference in what that person is doing. And it could be legit. But at least know about it. Because what happened at Neiman Marcus, they had all the logs and all the information that they were already hacked and that they were being hacked. They had all of that information in front of them. But they had over 70 million logs per day that they were collecting. And the 40,000 logs of information that they had that said, hey, you've got a problem here, right? They couldn't see it because it was too much noise. So that's what we're trying to do. Well, as they're doing the host discovering, the ping sweeps and everything else, we can see that. We're going to collect that, correlate that, and we're going to give you some information that says, hey, you need to know about this. All right. One of the things that they'll start doing now, they'll start dumping hashes. They'll start using pass the hash technology. They'll, hack in and dump plain text passwords, maybe using Mimikatz or something like that, gather all this information, and they're still going to stay quiet when they gather this information. They're not going to be loud initially because they're trying to get into the servers that have the information that they're looking for. So they're going to get quiet. Using things like pass the hash, if anybody knows how pass the hash works, if you can get on the network or you can get on the computer that somebody is using SSL technology, then you can gather the hash and log into a system using SSL. So once they get inside, they start email, they'll start emails to other employees, maybe gathering some PII. One of the other things they'll get is the intellectual technology. They'll start using ICMP tunnels as they start making a little more noise because they got to push this data back out. Again, that's technology that we can look at. We can find this information because what we're trying to do is we're correlating data from one place to another. So if I can see what you're doing over here on this host, and it's part of what something's happening over here on this host, because I have an impacted host and an origin host, and I'm grouping my technology to the point where I can correlate against both of those hosts together, then I can find out what's happening or going in between those hosts. As long as I can see what you're doing in both places, I know what's happening. So event correlation is the key to log SIM technology. And so if you have a chance, you can come by the booth. I can talk to you a little bit more about it. I'm going to skip through the physical security event correlation because we don't have a lot of time. I want to get right to the end, which is my demo. I told you I wasn't going to do it, but I'm going to show you a quick demo anyway of a hack. And then I'm going to get out of here so some other people that you really want to hear talk can get here. So one thing to realize is, first of all, you don't want to be hard on the outside and soft and chewy on the inside, right? So even though you might have the physical data set up where nobody can get in or you think you can't get in, once they pass that firewall, you've got a problem. Because once they're through, and they can get to anything they want to. You want to implement layer 3 segmentation for all of the technology that's very important to you. You really need to understand your environment and the logs that they create so that you can accurately correlate all of that, including physical and cyber events. And then you want to alert on this information and get rid of all the noise. So here we go, real quick. Here's a hack in progress. Right? This guy's over in, Best Buy or someplace like that. And he's hacking all these computers. So that's what a hack looks like. No, it's not. But in most cases, when you think about it, by the way, he's got the black T-shirt and the overcoat on, so he looks like a hacker, right? Sunglasses, so he's a hacker. Hey, I appreciate your time, everybody. I didn't have much of it, but I appreciate it very much. Thanks.